Hello, everybody. We see folks starting to come in. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll give it just a few minutes here and let everybody join, and then we will get started with Steve and Dustin from Rugged Radio. So we'll give it just a minute. I see folks are pouring in and signing on.
Great. We're excited.
Guys, where are you guys calling in from? Why don't we start there?
Oh man, beautiful Arroyo Grande, California. We're about 2 miles from the ocean, right by Pismo Beach.
Nice.
And this is our HQ. We just built a brand new facility. We've been in here not quite 2 years.
It's about 2 years.
Yeah. And we just love it here. It's an amazing place to live, amazing place to grow, raise a family and kids, and I think you'd agree.
Absolutely. No, we love it. It's our backyard. I mean, Pismo Beach is right down the street from us. But yeah, we love the Central Coast. Makes getting to some of the deserts and off-road events we go to a challenge at times, but
it's a drive, but it's worth it.
But we like where
well, it's worth it to live here.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, cool. Well, we will get started. For everybody that's signing in, I see participants jumping in a little bit slower now. So we're about 2 minutes after. So let's jump in.
Okay.
Today, for everybody that is dialed in, thank you, one, for coming in. Thank you for being a part of the onX Off-Road Elite Masterclass here with our partners from Rugged Radio. So we've got Steve and Dustin here. Couple of things. Don't worry, your audio is turned off, so we aren't going to hear you talking. Please use the Q&A in the chat on the side. If you do have very specific questions, please enter them into the Q&A and we will get to them at the end. We've got a bunch of questions initially that y'all have submitted over the past couple of weeks, so thank you for that. But just know that that is there as a resource as you're starting to plan your comms for your off-road experience. A couple of things we're going to talk about today, just a little bit of intros to the masterclass and Rugged Radios, a little bit about them. A little bit about off-road GMRS and the communication off-road basics. So we had a ton of questions come in on that, and we have the experts in the field to talk about it. A little bit of setting up your vehicle. We've gotten a few vehicle type questions in there, and then just a little bit of Q&A from you all that are here live and the giveaway for attending. So with that, we will jump right in. Steve, Dustin, you guys want to introduce yourselves a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'm Steve Gonzalez. I'm product development and a lot of other things at Rugged, but that's my core job. I've been with the company about 9.5 years or so. We've done a lot in that time, and it's an amazing company to work for. We're again super excited. We've got this brand new facility that felt like home on day one, anyway, I'm a longtime off-roader. I grew up in off-road. In fact, I grew up coming here to Pismo Beach with my family, and we'd have the big, off-road family, and just, we do the big circle of RVs and set up the big campfire in the center and all that kind of thing. Grew up on a three-wheeler, and I love and live the industry. This is off-road is what I do.
Yeah, and I'm Dustin Ensign. I'm the director of marketing. Like Steve, I'm an enthusiast. Kind of grew up in the deserts of Baja. A lot of my family come from a long line of old Baja racers. So we've been going down there since we're little kids. And so for me, I kind of got my passion for the off-road industry, taking trips down to Baja in the summer and in the spring and that sort of thing. You hear all guys taking off on their GW200s right now.
Just after 5, so there's a bunch of bikes taking off.
But like most of our employees, we all come from off-road roots. Like where we enjoy it. We grew up in and around Pismo. We grew up in Baja.
I've been to his family's place in Baja. It's amazing.
Yeah. So
nice.
For me, that's where the passion came from, and I love to be able to work in an industry where we get help racers and off-roaders, but it's also we kind of work in an area where it revolves around fun and people having a good time, and comms for us really kind of loop that all together, and they bring everyone together. So it's pretty good.
Heck yeah. Well, yeah. And it's great hearing the authenticity kind of roaring out the garage at the end of the workday. So thanks for sticking around.
Yeah. Hey, now we've got the boss here if you want to say hi.
Heck yeah, jump in.
This is the Onyx Masterclass. This is the owner, Greg Cottrell.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Greg, nice to meet you. You've got a couple.
I'm the master. He's just riding on my coattails.
Here, I'll be here during the whole program.
Right.
Oh, perfect. We're happy to have you. Thanks for jumping in.
There you go. Dustin, that's on you.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep eye on your part.
Right.
All right. Have a good time, guys.
Thanks, Greg.
That's Greg Cottrell, the owner. So Rugged, I'll give you a really brief history. Rugged was founded about 17 years ago now.
Yeah, almost 18.
Yeah, almost 18. Greg and his family owned another communications accessory manufacturing company. So he's been in the industry about 32 years, long time.
Awesome. Well, that's great. And again, that's the authenticity that we certainly look for when we're thinking about our comms, and we're so happy to have Rugged as an elite partner for that.
Likewise.
Well, cool. We talked a little bit about Rugged. I think that's a really good background to jumping into GMRS and comms in general. So let's springboard from there. One thing that we heard in droves is from our customers, why should I upgrade my CB to a GMRS Rugged radio? So talk to us a little bit about that.
So we get that question a lot. Once you try something outside of CB, and GMRS is a really natural progression from that, you really won't look back. GMRS is going to give you a lot more range with a lot less power draw. It's a lot less susceptible to interference. It's super forgiving, meaning like for antenna placement, for example. And I know that was one of the questions that came up. You know, what's the best antenna placement? Well, best antenna placement, and I don't care. Everyone asks, well, I've got a Jeep. What's the best antenna placement? I've got an F-150. I've got a Land Cruiser. I don't care what it is. The best place is the roof of the antenna or the roof of the car.
Okay.
Bent over metal roof.
Sure.
Problem is, on a lot of cars, you can't do that.
Yep.
So you can compromise and move the antenna. With a CB, you're going to suffer a ton. With GMRS, it's so much more forgiving that you can put that antenna in a subpar location, but you're still going to get the range. So CB is limited to 4 watts in the US. GMRS you can use up to, with a license, up to 50 watts. So just in power alone, 4 watts versus 50, you're just going to get a lot more range. It's a lot more efficient. There's just the benefits are really they really don't stop.
No,
Awesome.
And I think one of the easiest things to point out as well is, try and find a good quality, handheld CB radio that doesn't take 4 D batteries.
Right. That's about
Sure.
that big.
I mean, for most people, entry level handheld GMRS radio, like one of our GMR2s, gets you great range, is easy to use, and it comes with lithium ion rechargeable battery. So it's simple to use. You can grab and go. You can put it in your off-road vehicle. You can put it in your tow rig. You can hand it to your kids and you're at the campsite and then go walk around. It's just simple to use, and it's the progression from CB to a very comparable but better performing, option.
And Dustin brings up a really good point. So a hard-mounted, hardwired radio, CB radio in your rig versus this little handheld.
Yep.
This handheld would do everything your CB is doing in this package, and you can walk out of the car and use it.
Sure.
So it really is a big difference. CB is just very limited, and GMRS is, again, the efficiency level, the convenience, the technology. Like Dustin was saying, there's no one pushing the envelope on CBs.
That's it.
GMRS, it is the hot ticket right now.
And off-roaders are big fans of going, well, that's what we've always used.
Right.
And I just take that answer because it's such a, well, my grandpa always had it and our Jeep club always had it. And that's great. There's newer, better stuff. There's apps that do mapping now. There's all kinds of wonderful things you can use. So
Totally. Well, one of the things that you mentioned, I know we had questions come in on, was licensing. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, how hard is it to get? How much does it cost? just some of the stuff that I know we saw. Like
Yeah, I got you for GMRS. It's $35. It's a family license. It covers you and your immediate family. So
For how long?
For 10 years.
Nice.
So $35 for 10 years.
Yeah.
It covers my wife and my 2 kids, and any one of us can use our GMRS radios under the same license for 10 years. And
Yeah.
it doesn't require some long drawn out, you got to study it to pass test. It's I would say quick, but it's a government website. You have to go through
It's
them.
a little clunky, but it's easy.
We have a really nice guide that makes it easier, but it's probably 20 minutes, 20 minutes to half an hour to get your license, and you get a sweet little call sign, and then you're legal to use with your family. So it's a
Yeah,
must.
and it's just super easy. A lot of people are sometimes people that are new to the radio scene or have studied, have looked into like ham radio and that kind of thing. There's this kind of fear factor of what do I have to do to get licensed?
Sure.
Again, the GMRS stuff is so easy. There's no test. And what I love about it is it's general public. So it's actually designed by the FCC. They want general public to use this.
And they've made it pretty easy to acquire that license. So anybody that's using that as a possible hurdle to upgrade your comms to a much better setup, it's really just turnkey at this point.
It really is. It really is. Yeah.
Awesome. One of the things that we talked a little bit about in that handheld that y'all held up was just the portability of it. If I do have one of those units and I've got it charged, like how long can I expect that to last while I'm out wheeling in my group or out exploring all over the place?
Yeah, with the stock battery on our handheld radio, you can use it pretty much all day. The more you talk and the more you transmit and receive, the faster the battery will go.
Sure.
If it's just sitting in the vehicle and there's not a lot of talking going on, it'll last you the whole weekend most likely. But yeah, you get pretty good uses out of it. The more you talk, the faster it goes. We do have extra large batteries and charging options for in the car and that sort of thing. But if you
We
were to
have
grab
USB cables that'll charge the radio.
Well,
again,
and that's great.
I said again, it's a lithium battery, so you can charge that and go. It's not buying AAA, AA, whatever batteries and using it, which we love. That's a must for our radios.
Sure. Yeah. And one thing people always, that's a pretty common question. Just regardless of what battery life is, I always recommend having an extra one.
Sure.
Because not that I've ever made this mistake, but sometimes someone might leave their radio on overnight.
Yep.
And people are talking all night, and then you get up in the morning, oh shoot.
Yep.
And so I like having backups. But as Dustin said, most users, their battery will last all day long.
Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about that now on the portability options, as well as like a permanent install option. So we had some questions coming in of folks of which one should I go with? I'd love to hear your opinions on kind of the reco there.
Okay. You want to take it? Show me.
Go for it.
So which one should you go with? So I would probably start with what's your budget.
Sure.
So if you're ready to commit, you're not going to match a hard mounted mobile radio that kind of range with a handheld. And I don't care what kind of handheld it is. You're just because you're limited on power output. A hard mounted mobile radio, you can do up to 50 watts, and just your range is it's exponentially further. So that said, if you've got the budget, I would invest in both.
Sure.
Do the hard mounted mobile radio in the car and keep the handheld in it, because there's always a situation where someone's getting out of the car, and whether it's to, hey, I'm going to the restroom, or I need some help getting down this obstacle or up this obstacle for spotting. It's a huge advantage. All of our company vehicles here, we equip them with hard mounted radio and handhelds for that very reason. Parking a trailer, parking an RV, there's just so many applications for it. Or you've stopped and the rest of your group is still incoming. So now you can take the handheld, get out of the car, you can still hear all the calls. And if you can answer back on the handheld, or if they're far away, you go back to your mobile radio in the car and call back on big power.
Cool. So we talked earlier about antenna locations, and we had a lot of questions coming in around how do I maximize my reach or the area that I'm able to talk to? What would you guys recommend for that customer?
So I don't care what kind of antenna is, the best placement is as high as possible. And for most antennas in the center of a metal sheet pan, it could be sheet metal, it could be a lot of different types of metal, but mounted in metal. So the center of a roof.
Yep.
Jeeps, for example, don't have a metal roof. So, and that's where your compromises come in. That's an interesting question for me because most users don't really require every bit of performance that a radio is capable of, you know, and again, it's interesting to me because we get that all the time.
Yep.
But we see thousands and thousands of examples of vehicles with, you know, technically poorly mounted antennas. And I mean, like they're down on a fender or they're on a bumper and, you know, just places where the antenna guru would, or the radio, you know, guru would say, oh my God, I can't believe you put the antenna there. Well, but it's working.
Sure.
You know, and it's working for their application. You know, are they getting 100% performance out of it? No, but do they need that? So I always tell people best place is way up here, but you know, sometimes you've got a roof rack, sometimes you've got a, you know, a rag top, a fiberglass top. You don't want to put a hole in the roof, which is understandable.
Yep.
So put it in the next best place. And if the second best place isn't available or you don't want to do that, well, put it in the third best place and just try.
Yeah, no, that's the product development answer is, you know, center of a metal roof as high as you can get. And the marketing answer is whatever works best and works for your application, right? We make mounts that go on A-pillars. We make mounts that come off the fender of a Jeep. You know, we make magnetic mounts that go on the top of a roof or on a Jeep fender, that sort of thing. So it's really what, like I said, the best location, great. What's the best location for you? And understand that there might be a little bit of performance, not lost, but just not maximized performance if you put it in a different spot.
Well, and I like what he just said, the best place for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So the best place for me on most of my cars is drill a hole in the roof and stick the antenna up there.
Sure.
My 69 Camaro, I chose to put it on the trunk lid with a magnetic mount. And guess what? It works great. Okay. So it really is, honestly, I think he just found a new marketing pitch there. It really is what's best for you. And if it works, leave it alone.
Cool. No, absolutely love that. You know, Olin, I see your question here in the chat. For everybody else, please start throwing them in the Q&A, but this leads really well into the next question that we've gone through was rugged radios have changed over time. How well does, I guess, communication work backwards and forwards? And then can you talk to other systems with this if somebody has another radio?
Sure. So we're talking GMRS. Our GMRS radios will talk to any other GMRS radio, and also FRS radios. FRS is license free but lower wattage.
Sure.
But yeah, absolutely. The radio waves surprisingly don't care what brand they are. So yeah, our GMRS radios will talk to, you know, your cheap little Cobras and little Motorola talkabouts that you buy at Costco and all that kind of thing, you know. And for me, one of the big benefits of GMRS is I bet most watchers here have a couple FRS radios floating around in their junk drawer. And guess what? You can buy one of our radios, you can get a big high power radio in your car and use those cheap handhelds for the kids or as loaners for the buddies and that kind of thing. So yeah, they'll talk to any brand.
And the one thing I would say to that, Olin, and for anybody else on the call, is that as an elite member, you get 20% off of rugged radios right now. So if you've ever considered or thought about switching, now's the time, because you're never going to get a better deal on what is really some of the best performing radios in the marketplace, hands down. So definitely consider that upgrade. Well, cool. The one other piece that we were talking, and I saw come through in the chat, was just the overall range. Like, what would you consider a good range, bad range, line of sight, anything in that vein?
Radios are really, I mean, it's very dependent on what terrain you're in. You know, if you're standing there trying to transmit, I mean, most of the time we typically say 1 to 3 miles on a handheld radio. And that's when in moderate conditions, I've been out in KOH on top of a hill looking down in Johnson Valley and been able to transmit 5, 6, 7 miles on a handheld radio, no problem. So line of sight absolutely will go forever. But when you start talking about what's in front of you, if you're down in a canyon, obviously the radio wave's got to make it outside those rocks and outside those trees or whatever you're looking at. So typically we say 1 to 3 miles on a handheld radio. You can get 10, 20, plus miles on a mobile radio, one that's hard mounted. And you guys were on your trip to Pikes Peak and you guys were talking 30 something miles away on a.
It wasn't 30, but there were times we were probably close to 20 miles apart. And that's GMRS. So we were on our GMR 45, which is 45 watts. And in suboptimal mounting locations, because we're all in hot rods and not one of us is willing to drill a hole in it. But we never had a range issue. And again, that's all mobiles. What's funny is we had a GT40 with us. And that car was actually running just a handheld with a hand mic clipped to his shirt. And even he was working well, and that brings up another point. A handheld's not going to go as far as a mobile radio. Again,
Sure.
Power output. A handheld will typically receive just as well. So, for example, that guy in the GT40, there was also a Hellcat that was running the same thing. They wouldn't put a hole in either of them. Weird. But what's great is even if you've got a couple guys in the group that don't have mobile radios, those guys, someone's still going to hear them. So I always tell people, if you're running in a big group, put your mobile radios at the front,
Sure.
at the back, and then if you can in the middle, because then you can just relay calls.
Yeah.
If you're going down a trail, or in that example, we're going down the highway, and we're in cars, so we may have spread apart a couple miles, and in some conditions we're going through canyon stuff. That handheld at the very front of the pack isn't going to get through everyone.
Yep.
But he'll say, hey, heads up, there's a whatever on the side of the road, or there's cows crossing the road or whatever. What I like to do is repeat that call. So if I know that was someone at the front of the group, if I'm in the center of the group, I like to repeat it. Say, hey, copy, there's cows on the road. And then when I get past them, I say it again, I'm past the cows. That way there's kind of a narrative on where you're traveling, and each individual radio's range starts to matter less because you're all communicating as a group.
Yep.
But back to what Dustin said, there's a million variables that'll affect radio range. Yes, line of sight is your ideal situation for a radio. It's just like your cell phone. If you're line of sight from a cell tower, your speed's going to be phenomenal.
Sure.
But there's a lot of variables in, even just if you're in a canyon, radio waves will bounce. So, and GMRS does a great job of getting through all the nooks and crannies and stuff. So lots of variables, but what Dustin said is accurate. A handheld up to 1 to 3 miles could be a lot more, but it could be less in bad conditions. And a mobile radio, 10, 15, 20 miles is easily possible.
Well, and it's very important. We like to, when we talk about range on our radios, we talk about real world range, right? What you are really going to experience, not, you're not in no atmosphere, line of sight
Right.
everywhere you go. Most of the time you're in a train of vehicles or in the trees or whatever it is. So,
Yep.
I like to tell people that if we're measuring by the standards used on Walmart packaging, which is seemingly in the vacuum of space.
Sure.
Our radio range is about 2,000 miles.
There you go. Fair enough. Love it. Let's talk a little bit about those permanent specific install radios. So we had a ton of questions come in. I know a lot of our users they're full size users, Jeep, Bronco, Toyota, or side by side specific. And I know you guys have solutions for both. So let's talk through some of those details. Like, what are the things you'd recommend for those types of rigs if you want to kind of walk the line on it?
I'll start the full size vehicle that you take over for UTVs and the race application stuff.
Okay.
For most of the full size new vehicles, there's we quickly found the need to not have people drill a bunch of holes in their dash of their new $60,000, $70,000 SUVs and
Sure.
trucks and things. So we built a ton of specific mounts for, everything from Toyota Tacomas and 4Runners to Tundras and Raptors and the new Bronco, and just go down the list. We got a new Subaru mount coming out in the next soon-ish. We got some prototypes for that, but we have vehicle specific mounts. Like I said, if you can, a hard mount mobile radio, our 45 watt, that's what I have in most of my
even the
vehicles.
25 watt,
Yeah.
to be honest. But anyway,
Anyway, any of our GMRS mobiles in vehicle specific mounts with, we have antenna locations for those as well. Those work awesome. And what I love about that, we talked about a little bit earlier, I love to not have to worry about charging a battery on a mobile radio or a handheld radio. I can walk in and flip the switch on it, and now I'm talking to whoever I'm with.
Sure.
And I got great range, and let's be real, holding a hand mic while you're on the trail in Moab, it doesn't get cooler than that. And it's something that we're, not really talking about directly.
being spotted through some of the
Yeah.
obstacles and not running into a rock. There's
Yeah.
nothing cooler than that.
It's very
Way
cool.
cooler.
But no, radios are fun, and having a hand mic or having a walkie-talkie in your hand while you're on the trails with your buddies, it's great. And it connects the entire group. You don't just get to talk to the vehicle in front of you, the vehicle behind you when you stop to pee or grab a bite. You can talk to the entire group or give your buddy a hard time from a distance. So for the full size vehicles, yeah, there's a ton of options, but it's real simple. It's radios are radios. It's a mobile mounted unit or it's a handheld unit, and they both have their pluses and their negatives. But that's the way to go. And for UTVs and the race application, I'll let Steve jump into that for you.
So UTVs, we have lots of mounting options for pretty much virtually any UTV. A lot of vehicle specific mounts. So, and for all the Polaris, Honda, Kawasaki, Yamahas, you name it, we make them. And I will say, if you go to our website and you don't see them, or if you call us and we don't have it, ask us for it, because we'd love feedback. We've got, again, in this big new complex we designed, we've got our rugged garage, which is part of what we do there is design. And actually we do short production runs of mounts there, and we do them quickly. What used to take us, 6 to 8 weeks, because we'd have to design here in-house, we send it out, it comes back, we need a little tweak, and there's back and forth. It used to take us, again, many, many weeks. Now there are times we've got a mount that goes from just kind of conception to an actual turnkey product within, a day. So
Nice.
we want that feedback. We're really big on the vehicle specific mounts because we get it. Again, like Dustin said, people are spending a lot of money on cars these days, and these cars are amazing, but it doesn't mean you want to put a hole in it. So we've got some that are super simple. One of the simplest that I love is the Toyota mounts that they mount on a seat bolt for the passenger seat. So basically it's got a bracket that comes down and it brings an arm up, puts the radio right there where you can reach it. And it's fantastic. I actually, my Camaro, I used one for our power taco tour. And I actually put an intercom in the car because it's a loud car and we're in it for a long time.
Nice.
But I actually used one of the Toyota mounts in it. And it's fantastic. It doesn't hurt anything to put it in. You're not, you're not cutting, you're not drilling, anything like that. It's literally you pull one bolt out and put the bracket on, put it back in.
Yeah, and another thing, we talked about radios quite a bit for both applications, but Steve mentioned intercoms. Intercoms is the in-car communication. So if you're in an open cab, like a Polaris UTV or whatever that might be, we have in-vehicle communications, and the intercom is the hub where you can connect a couple cables into headsets or helmet kits, and you can put speakers and a mic right inside your helmet. And now you can casually have a conversation just like we're having right now at 120 miles an hour. If you follow us on social media, you can see, like the Eisenhowers are blasting through the salt flats. You going 119, 120 and having a conversation. So we don't just do radios. We do a lot of stuff, and a lot of it has its roots in racing, and a lot of that is loud. What do we say? It's communications in loud environments, and that's intercoms.
High noise is our specialty.
Yeah, exactly. So
and Dustin brings up a good point. So the company name it's actually Rugged Race Products. So we do business as Rugged Radios. Rugged Race Products. started as a communications accessory manufacturer. You know, the radio thing came in later. So we build tons and tons of accessories. We get a lot of calls with people that are kind of fed up with everything and they don't think we can help. And they tell us, well, I'm just calling just because I haven't called you. And we listen to their needs and say, oh, well, we can do that. That's our specialty. You know, so we love it when customers call us and tell us their dream communication system and say, hey, I'm really trying to do this. No one can help me. What can you do? You know, because we've been in the industry so long, and by that I mean just communications in general, not just off-road. You know, we do aviation, we do fire trucks, we do police, we do all kinds of commercial. So there's a lot of different applications. So
That's
anyway,
awesome.
again, that was a
Yeah.
good point Dustin touched on.
Cool. And yeah, for all the folks that are commenting in there, ask about their specific vehicle. So Roland, Eric, I saw one more in there. Check it out. And if you don't see it up on ruggedradios.com, call the team.
Call us. Hey, we've got an office filled with people that answer the phone. So we're that's one thing we are adamant about. Greg, the owner, that you guys saw him a little while ago, he's adamant that when you call Rugged Radio, someone's going to answer the phone.
Perfect. Perfect. So team and all the onX Off-Road Elite members that are chatting in, check it out. Give them a shout. One thing I did see from Ava earlier, I know we had a couple of questions on beforehand, is comms in helmet. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about that before we get back to some of the racing and other stuff you mentioned?
Sure. So that's super easy for us. We've been doing that for a long time. Greg started doing that with their old communications company, which actually, that company, they actually manufactured for pretty much every name you've ever heard in off-road communications. So they actually, they made the product, private labeled it for dozens and dozens of companies. Helmets are really easy. We've got a helmet kit in a few varieties that gives you speakers and a noise canceling microphone, and then a connector to go to your intercom, or you can go straight to a radio. There's a lot of ways to do it,
Cool.
but it's really easy. We've got our quick mount, which is a billet aluminum mount that holds the cabling and just clamps onto the shell of the helmet. So it's a super easy install, just a couple Allen wrenches, which we supply, and then the speakers just Velcro into the helmet. So it's super easy. And like Dustin was saying, you know, it allows you to communicate at speed in high noise environments. And I don't care what you're in, if you're in a UTV, if you're in a Jeep, you know, Jeeps, sometimes people think they don't need an intercom in it, and not everyone does. But if you spend a lot of time in one, especially without a top, they get loud.
Yep.
You know, and what it comes down to is, you know, yeah, like if Dustin and I are in a car and we're traveling down the road, open top, whatever, sure, we can talk, but we've got to speak up. You know, you got to yell, especially if you're off road.
Totally.
And after a while, you just get bored. you get tired of yelling, and after a while, you just kind of shut down and we're kind of each on our own. You know, the intercom brings everyone together. So the helmet kit connected to the intercom, it brings everyone together, even in the car.
When I got sold on intercoms and helmet communications was being on a ride with my wife and not getting in arguments over, hey, look at that cool cactus. And it's like, what? And you just end up going back and forth over something dumb. You can have a casual conversation about nothing, and it's great. You don't wear yourself out trying to talk over the wind noise and everything, whether it's a race car, a UTV, or even an open top Jeep that you're in all day. When your top's off and you're you know, yelling back and forth all day, it's gonna wear you out. So it makes it fun.
And on top of that, you know, especially if you're wearing a headset, or we have helmet kits that you can use earbuds with, noise fatigue. You know, it gets old. You know, I've got we've got a full cab Bronco pre-runner here that's, you know, you look at it and you wouldn't think you need an intercom, but it's 85, 86 dB going down the road. And that's not super loud, but do that for, I got to drive to the Baja 500 in 2 weeks.
You get to drive
yeah, I
the
get
Baja
to.
500.
It's going to be great. But it wears on you. You know, that's 8 hours. Actually, it's longer to Ensenada. It's, you know, so it's, let's say 10 hours in the car getting there, and then you spend all the time running around. So it's a lot of time, and you get home and you're fatigued just from the noise.
Yep.
So yeah, that car's got an intercom, it's got a 5-place intercom, and we can listen to music, we can talk on the radio to the other vehicles in our group. It makes a big difference in it, and it really does connect people in ways a lot of people don't imagine, and they don't understand until they try it.
Yeah.
Plus being able to Bluetooth your phone to an intercom and listen to music or place a call through your headset or your helmet kit is pretty cool to be able to do that.
And it's really fun when you're out on a trail and like you're in your UTV or your Jeep or the Bronco or whatever, and you get up to a high point and suddenly you got cell service and your phone rings. And someone's calling, hey, just calling blah, blah, blah. Where are you? Oh, I'm blasting over the, mountaintop ridge in Baja.
Heck yeah.
Like, oh my God. And they don't hear the background noise, because again, high noise, that's our jam. That's what we do.
No, that's awesome. And I'll say for me personally, the thing I love about it is when you're in a mixed riding group is that everybody can talk to each other, right? So if I'm on a bike and my friends are on UTV, like we know where each other are in the dunes and we can still have a great time individually and together. So
absolutely. Yep. We do moto kits too. Our moto kits are one of my favorite products because they are just simple and they just work. I mean, because they're so simple, the performance level is just unbelievable. And again, like Dustin was saying, kind of ribbing your friends and that kind of thing. I tell people all the time, so all that ribbing you do at the end of the ride, you do it all day long.
So many missed opportunities.
Right. And then you just recap the highlights at the end.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Well, cool. We talked about a lot of stuff about the product. Let's talk about some of the other fun things that I know you two both get to do. And some of the pieces I know we've had a lot of folks asking about was, let's talk a little bit about racing and off-road racing and going to Baja. Like, what is that like for an off-road comms company like yourself in that sense? And I guess, what are some of the unique challenges that are faced when you're out there with those folks that are professionals that absolutely depend on this type of communication?
So off-road racing is, again, it's just a part of who we are, from the top down, from the owner to, our sales staff, our tech team. It's just in our blood. The challenges we face, and I don't care what level of professional racing or amateur racing you're in, the challenge we face is installation.
Sure.
So we're really specific with how you install the product. And if you follow those directions, it's going to work. You're not going to have problems. Okay. We're highly confident in our product for off-road racing and road racing, any kind of racing for that matter. We've developed a lot of race specific products because we've seen the installation errors. We've seen the damage to cabling, which damaged cabling is the number one. If we go to a car that's got a problem, 99% of the time it's a damaged cable.
Okay.
So that's the challenge we face. We have a new race program that we started. It's probably been a couple years now. And we've got a dedicated staff for race support only. So you call in and you say, hey, I've got this race vehicle. We send you to our race crew, and they handle all race product, sales, support, and service. And because that racer needs a special type of care, and they need a special product. So we want to make sure they're using the correct product, and we want to make sure they're installing it properly. I can't tell you how many times I've walked downstairs and Doug Nation is FaceTiming someone like this. No, I need to see this. I need to point to it. And he's literally on FaceTime, going over to someone's race car and just showing, because we want that to be perfect. So we work really hard on getting the teams prepped before they get to the race. Once they get to the race, Baja, for example, Baja, we go over the top at any race. We are there to support, and we'll do just about anything to get you going. Okay, we'd rather do it ahead of time, and most racers would also rather do it ahead of time. But once we're there, hey, everything is what it is. We're going to get you going. In Baja, so we provide a come to you service. So we have a again, we take our Bronco, we take our service van. Steve Bouchard usually takes his pre-runner, and so we do product support at Contingency Row. So we set up. We've got a dealer in Ensenada that's a fully stocking dealer. We set him up at Contingency Row, and if you need something and you can get to him, you call him, or you just go see them, get what you need. You can get programming, diagnostics, product, whatever you need. And then we also do the come to you service. So if somebody calls or texts and says, hey, we're having this issue, we're at this hotel or we're out in the desert or whatever, we'll actually go to you and get you taken care of. So we're huge on the customer service in general, race support, all of that stuff. We're all about it.
Yeah, and the real short answer is we get to go to some amazing, beautiful places and see some really cool stuff. And most of the time we're upside down in a car trying to fix stuff or
Yep, that's true.
or do things
Accurate.
because well, it's like our service is over the top, and that's how we'll continue to operate that way. But at these beautiful places, you'll usually find us working on things and that sort of thing, and we make sure we have enough free time to enjoy it as well. But a lot of it's work. I don't know. I keep hoping for it.
Well, the whole thing is we always hope to go down to Baja and all the races. We always hope to go as the Maytag repairman that doesn't have anything to do. But we're there to work. You know, we all take a great pride in our work ethic, and I grew up in my parents' small business. I personally take great pride in customer service because I know what it means to our customers and I know what it means to me as a consumer. So we're there. Hey, we'd love to have all the fun, but we'd rather help the racer get going.
Love that. And I think we've seen a couple of folks in the chat that have seconded that and experienced it firsthand. So that part's really cool. Goes
Thank you,
back
guys.
to the authenticity. Okay, last fun one, and then I think we can get into some of the questions that we've been getting live. Is I see the Rugged Garage hat. We've all seen the photos and the videos of those builds coming together. Talk to us a little bit about the magic behind that, of what drives it, how you guys come up with those builds, and I guess roll from there.
Well, before we talk about the magic, next time we should do a video. We'll give you guys a virtual tour of the whole complex, including the garage and the lodge, and maybe the taco shop will be open by then.
Love that. Let's sold. I'll have to come to that one live, but
That sounds good.
We'd love to be there and
That
show
sounds
you.
good.
Yeah, a lot of the builds come from nostalgia, from something that tickled us when we were younger, or our owner Greg, you guys met earlier, something that struck him and stuck with him over the years, and he goes, let's build that. Let's turn a Polaris Polaris UTV into a 32 coupe, like whatever that movie is. I can't think
The
of it.
Miller Special,
Yeah, the
yep,
Miller
American
Special.
Graffiti.
So we have
It's
the
not here
opportunity
right now.
to build some really cool stuff. Actually, last week we just wrapped up our Destination Polaris filming for our TV show. We built a rugged taco truck. So we're sitting there like, what can we do? How can we go have more fun on the trail? How can we do more activations? How can we, get more people around us? And it's like, well, let's make a taco truck so we can make tacos while we're on the trail. So we turned the back end of a UTV.
It makes sense, right?
Back end of
Absolutely.
a UTV into we put a grill on it and got
Trying to find you guys a photo. It's not a great one.
Let's see how this works out.
Yeah, it's an okay one.
Well, there you go, guys.
So
First,
that's got a full okay. So nostalgia and just our experiences. He's absolutely right. That vehicle came about from we love tacos. Again, we go down to Baja, we work, we bust our butts, and we try to go early to have some fun, but a lot of times the schedule doesn't permit that. So when we're there, a few years ago, we decided, I told Steve Bouchard, it was just him and I at the Baja 500. And I said, we're going to do a taco tour. I said, we're going to eat nothing but tacos. We're going to see how many tacos we can eat in 2.5 days. So we ate 104 tacos, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and had a great time doing it, visited all kinds of places. And that kind of snowballed into, we now, when we can, we'll actually go down early, we'll pre-run the race course, and along the way we'll help. So if we see someone broken down or they're just stopped, we stop and they say, hey, I need to come see you for some programming or whatever. And we just say, hey, let's just do it right now. So we'll literally do it, trackside, And it's just a fun way for us to bring the community together. And so again, that taco truck, that snowballed from all of that. And I got to say, it turned out just, it turned out just exactly the way we wanted. And it brought our, we had an unveiling out on the beach, and a bunch of staff went out. It was fantastic. That's what we're all about. That's the nostalgia, the off-road, or just motorsports family in general. That's what runs. That's the inspiration.
No, I love that. And I think we're all going to be super pumped when we get to see that taco truck build live. When do you all think that news is going to be announced and that reveal is going to happen?
We did a little bit on social media, but the TV show should air in a couple months, and that's the Destination Polaris, which I think is on Bally. But if you follow along on our social media or subscribe to our email, we'll be telling you all about it real soon. And this is an open invite for, we might regret this,
Right.
but anyone that's watching this, if you're in Arroyo Grande, if you're in
Please stop by.
come by.
Or even if you're just driving through on 101, we're literally right off, like the freeway's like a few hundred yards that way.
But that's an open invite. Come by. If we're able to, we'll give you a full tour. If not, come in and poke around the shop. And we got, I'm staring at 3 cars that are down in the showroom right now. We always have cool stuff going on here. Please stop by, come visit us. We have live people here. We love the human interaction. That's what we're here for. So please come by, and we can show you all about them every time.
Awesome. Well, hey everybody, thanks for tuning into that. You got an exclusive invite to go tour around the Rugged Radio shop. So that's awesome, guys. Thanks for being so open about it.
Yep.
So I think that wraps it up for all the pre-submitted questions. I've got the list pulled up, and we'll kind of walk through them one by one and then go from there. Folks, I don't know that we're going to get to everybody's because there are a ton in the time we've got left. But let's do it.
And if someone has a question they don't get answered, again, call us.
Awesome. And we'll be passing all the info over to you guys too. So anybody that we don't hit, you'll get contacted. So thanks for great service from these folks. So first one, Mike Phillips. I am planning a Continental Divide trail trip. I've always relied on cell phone and satellite comms. What's that?
I'm jealous.
Yeah, me too. But since I'm going with a group of 8 vehicles, what would be the best type of radio to use in the group? Is a handheld sufficient distance battery wise, or would a mobile unit be better that is hardwired to my vehicle?
Both. I mean, mobile unit would be great. A handheld would be great if you need to jump out and do whatever. But if your budget allows for handhelds and everyone in that group had a handheld, that would work just fine.
Exactly.
It would work. But there's a mobile unit. If it was me, I'd have a mobile and a handheld, and then probably another handheld as a spare. But yeah, a group of handhelds would work really well.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's budget. It's I tell people, you get, and I'm sure we're all guilty of this, of building the vehicle that you want to own in 10 years. Okay, I tell people, build the car you can afford to finish right now, because you'll have more fun in whatever it is, a stock Ranger or Toyota or whatever it is. You'll have more fun in that car than the car that takes you 10 years to build. So when it comes to radios, it's not that different. Hey, if you can't swing the mobile radio right now, get the handheld and you're going to love it. And
cool.
The beauty of buying the handheld, you can still use it when you buy the mobile. The handheld gets you going. And then later when you need more range, now you got the mobile, and now you got a loaner, or you've got something for a spotter. So you're not, I'm a big fan of, I push really hard to build our products in a modular way, in a way that as a consumer, I really hate buying the entry level part and then having to throw that away later when I want the big dog kit.
Totally.
So we work really hard to make it so that you can buy, hey, I can buy just a handheld right now. And then if I'm on a bike, I can buy the complete moto kit later, or I can just run a hand mic, and I'm not throwing anything away. I'm not wasting money to upgrade later. So start with a handheld. That's real easy. If you want the range and if you've got the budget, get the hard mounted mobile radio.
There you go, Mike. Hopefully that helps. Obviously, I think you've heard tonight the importance of comms out in the trail, and just get something, get out there and have it. Let's see. So we've got Noel had one on a ham radio license. Is it better than a GMRS license? Do we want to talk quick on that one?
Sure. So ham radio, is phenomenal in what it's capable of and the resources it gives you. But you have to test, so you actually have to pass a test. You have to learn it. You know, it's like anything else. It's got a lot of potential, but you really have to learn it. I would argue that so I'm a ham operator. I've also got a GMRS license. I've also got, you know, through Rugged, we've got tons of different business licenses. So I could use any of those three bands. GMRS is my absolute go-to. And the reason is I went and got my ham license. It wasn't that hard. I'm sure every viewer here could pass the test. The problem is you're not going to convince all your buddies to do it.
Yep.
GMRS, hey man, you got to spend $35 for 10 years. It's easy, okay? And it's a platform that a lot of people are already on. And again, those FRS radios that are in everyone's junk drawer, hey, now you're already part of the club. So it's just easy.
And answer this: if you really geek out over the tech and you want to know the nuts and bolts, the ins and outs of it, ham sounds like it might be up your alley. If you just want to talk to your buddies, GMRS is really the simple answer.
Hey, but you know what's funny? A lot of ham operators are into off-road. Most of them also have a GMRS license.
That doesn't surprise me at all. That's perfect. We talked a little bit about UTVs earlier. Will Rugged Radios work with my existing GMRS antenna using standard antenna connectors?
Probably. I mean, without knowing specifics, probably.
Sure.
I always tell people, if you're replacing your radio, unless you absolutely know and you have the equipment to test it, I would recommend replacing the antenna cable and antenna. Just because the antenna cable and antenna, I don't care how good the radio is, it will make or break your radio. And our antennas, our GMRS antennas, and we have off-road antennas as well, which are business band. Off-road, by that I mean off-road race. But most of our antennas are pre-tuned out of the box, so you don't have to tune them. Most manufacturers sell antennas that are tunable, so you've actually got to tune them with a meter and test equipment, which most users don't need to invest in, and we don't expect them to, so we'd rather make a turnkey kit that you just put on the car and go play.
Cool. I think that's perfect, Wesley. Hopefully that answers your question on that one. Let's see, what else do we have here? Just going through. Do any of the GMRS channels have better range than other GMRS channels?
That's a good question.
They do. The higher channels have
Thank
more,
you for asking that.
Yeah, that's a great question. The higher channels have more power. So channels 22, I'm going to screw this up.
15 to 22.
15 through 22 can be up to 50 watts.
50 watts.
And channels 1 through 7 are 5 watts, up to 5 watts, right? And then channels are the FRS channels are in between that 8
through
to
14 are 2 watts. It's confusing.
So I was
So-
this is why I always tell people start at 22 and work down until you find a clear channel and operate up in that range.
Yeah.
And yes, those are the higher power ones. It's the simplest answer.
And before someone asks why, it's the federal government, it's not us.
Yeah.
If it were up to us, they'd all be 50 watts. So we have to play within their rules. But like Dustin said, GMRS channels 15 through 22, you can run at a much higher power than those lower channels.
Perfect. Yeah, I learned something today. I did not know that one. That's freaking great. I'll stop using the low channels now. One we've had a couple of times come in is about aluminum bodied vehicles. What would you guys recommend? Do they get impacted by anything with that being aluminum bodied versus steel?
So as far as a ground plane, so a ground plane is a metal surface under an antenna.
Sure.
It doesn't care what metal that is. It could be aluminum, stainless steel. It could be steel. It could be carbon fiber. Carbon fiber is basically operates the same way as any other metal or as a metal. So yeah, it doesn't matter what type it is.
The one thing it will affect if someone's referring to that as our magnetic mount will not
Sure.
work that great on aluminum. We do have a 3M style adhesive that has a metal plate that you can then adhere the magnet to.
Yep.
Okay.
Those aluminum bodied cabs F-150s, for example. The guys that don't want to put a hole in the roof, just stick this plate on there and then the mag mount works on there.
Or use one of our fender mounts or A-pillar mounts, that sort of thing for the antenna.
Yep.
Perfect. So for the folks that were asking about that, Rugged already has a solution for you. They know how to take care of you on that. So
And-
No, go ahead.
I was going to say also our most popular antennas are non-ground plane antennas. So they don't require that metal under the antenna. They will perform better with a ground plane, but they don't require it and they still work really well without it.
cool. I saw one coming in the chat that I think is just fun. Dax, here's yours. Hi, we are working on an expedition to take 9 to 12 months to do the Pan American Highway from Alaska to Argentina.
Dang,
Incredible.
You need an expert to go with you, so.
right.
So
And what
Dax,
to
you-
say?
Yeah.
Dax's question is, would Rugged be the way to go for this kind of expedition? And would you be interested in speaking about how we can help the marketing side of Rugged? Well, that's probably another question, Dax, but I think
that's not on me.
that,
Yeah.
but how would that work, guys, across, I guess, country boundaries in this? Everything, how would that all connect?
So I don't know every specific country, but generally speaking, most countries are pretty accepting of GMRS in general. And most countries are, it varies by region, but I would say GMRS is probably the best platform to use. I would look at, on any trip, I don't care where you're going, if you're going through multiple countries, I would certainly look at the laws in each country.
For
And I
sure.
know can be a daunting task, but to plan that kind of trip, you're already doing a lot of work. Anyway, so let's, and the communications, again, if you're in a group, is a big part of it. So it really, it's going to vary by where you're going, but personally, if I had to choose one band, I'd probably still choose GMRS.
Cool.
And the other thing you can do is with GMRS, I mean, you can do this with any band, but the GMRS is easier. Using those low power channels, you're not going to get the same range as a high power, but in some situations that might be good because maybe you don't want to interfere with someone else, or you don't want someone hearing your calls or whatever they are. So there's an advantage there as well.
Cool. All right, last one. And thank you guys for being so patient, answering all these questions. Awesome answers for everybody. From Brandon, can you talk about repeaters and how to get started using them? It seems.
Oh man. Yes. Repeaters. So I'll try to be quick. So repeaters are not as intimidating as people think they are. So we have a Rugged repeater here, which is actually just, I don't know, I think it's less than a mile from us here. And our repeater, so GMRS repeaters, you can go to websites such as mygmrs.com. There's a few websites where they list repeaters in different areas. You can request access to that repeater. Our repeater is open. Anyone and everyone can use it. All we ask is that you don't tie it up using, like, if your buddy's in front of you and you want to call them and say, hey, I'm turning left here.
Sure.
You can do that on a simplex channel, which is radio to radio. The repeater, the beauty of that is our repeater has a giant range. It's about a 20-mile radius. So we can actually communicate in places that I live in this little small, like, I don't know, 3.5, 4 acre valley. And I've taken some big radios home just to see if I can communicate out of it. And I can't touch anything. Like, I've taken 110 watt radios there and I can't reach our HQ. But through our repeater, because my house, you can, line of sight, you can see the repeater. I can hit that repeater with a tiny little radio handheld and I can reach this huge area. So repeaters are big. There is a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get the basics, it's really not hard to use. And all of our GMRS radios are repeater capable. They can do split tones, which that's getting a little technical, but they are all fully programmable from the face of the radio, or you can buy software from RT Systems and program it on your computer. but they're all fully capable of it. If you want to know more, again, give us a call. We're actually working on some documentation and videos on how to connect to repeaters. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome. Well, cool, guys. Dustin, Steve, thank you so much for being on here for the last hour. I know it's late in the day for you all. I really appreciate it. Thanks to all the onX Off-Road Elite members that jumped on this today. Don't forget, you get exclusive discounts through Rugged. Please go check them out, ruggedradios.com. Check them out on all the socials for updates on that taco truck, as well as the other cool stuff that these guys are doing.
And the actual taco shop.
And the taco shop when that opens. You've got an invite to come check that out from the team. They're super gracious, and always give them a shout. We thank you for attending this live tonight. We will have it up on the onX Off-Road YouTube as well. So check us out there, and we'll be picking one of you for an exclusive giveaway. So again, thanks for being a part of this. Thanks so much to the team at Rugged Radios for being a partner, and have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So
Thanks, guys.
next one is a virtual tour here.
So
All right, deal.
all right, guys, have a great night.
All right,
You
guys,
too.
take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.